Hello and welcome to this edition of Dr. Clark Reports. I'm your host, Dr. Gary Clark, and my guest is my friend, Mr. Nick Harris, who is the Director of the Office of Community Relations at our university, Dillard University. We are friends and colleagues.
That's right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here, Gary.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the program.
Yep.
Now, I know you serve as the Director of the Office of Community Relations with Dillard University, but will you please tell my viewing audience the nature and capacity, the nature of your work there at Dillard?
Well, Gary, as you know, I've been at Dillard for about 25 years.
Oh, yes.
Well, 25 years plus, okay? And after the storm, the president of Dillard knew that we had to rebuild the community. And with my background in working with small businesses, my background in working with other programs, they asked if I would lead this office off called Community Development. And I was more than happy to do so because prior to that I was also the risk manager and handling all the insurance. So this was like a godsend to me because it gave me an opportunity to just kind of relax a little bit, you know, after dealing with all the insurance issues and everything with Katrina. And so the Office of Community Relations was established by the university, and the purpose really was to help to rebuild the Gentilly community and also help to rebuild New Orleans.
Oh, yes, and I know that the way it works, and as I see community development, is that it's like a concentric circle. Mm-hmm. You start within and you go layer upon layer upon layer. And yes, and some of the communities around Dillard that you're associated with.
Well, I tell you, Gary,
yes.
I guess we all had tunnel vision prior to Katrina. We knew exactly where we were going. We didn't look to the left. We didn't look to the right. You know, we went directly to what we were going. We knew that streets were bad on one side and they were good on the other side. We knew all these type things, okay? But we weren't really involved on how to get it done, okay? And how do you make life better for everyone within the community. We knew the word community, but it didn't resonate with us, okay, as to what could be done to make it better. And so with all these charrettes and everything and rebuilding with the master plan, and more people began to get more involved, but they didn't know how to get involved, okay, because we didn't really attend the city planning meeting, okay, we didn't attend the city council meetings, only when things directly affected us. So, you know, it was a job and a crusade, I would say,
oh, yes,
in order to get people more involved in, because a lot I had to learn myself on how to do it.
And so when you hit the ground and you immerse yourself in the community, what has been the receptivity of the community organizations to your office and the things that you do?
It's been great because I didn't come out to be a leader. And Dillard wasn't formed to be a leader, but to work with organizations in order to strengthen them. And so by coming out as a partner, one of my first goals was for everyone to learn the importance of sustainability and self-sufficiency and how we make things happen ourselves rather than asking someone else to come in to help us to rebuild. And so with that, you know, I started getting involved with neighborhood association nonprofits like Neighbor Works America and these different groups that provided training for people in communities to show them how to build capacity, how you get people in your community involved in different activities, and to come up with a outcome, a objective, and then you have your outcome and ways you can measure that to continue to move forward.
I like that, and so you really brought another fresh perspective to your job, because you didn't come in with any preconceived notions, did you?
No,
yes.
No, none at all. And but I knew that I didn't like get mad meetings. And I've been to enough get mad meetings.
When we say neighborhoods, that's what we think about.
Yeah, just get mad meetings, okay? And I said, look, I can't be a part of a get mad meeting, okay? And so, therefore, we had to teach the show, not really teach, but bring resources to the neighborhood presidents to say, well, look, this is how we get the job done. Because remember now, New Orleans is not the only place that had a catastrophic event to happen. You had them all over the country, but the different types. We had Katrina. Some people have a problem with drugs. Some people had tornadoes and all these different things, so they had to rebuild. And how did they galvanize the people in the community to get things done? Because you can't get anything done when you're upset. You
right,
know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I always believe there's a very delicate relationship between universities, institutions such as universities, should I say, and the communities themselves where they reside. A lot of times individuals are proud to say, I live near Columbia or I live near at whatever school it may be. But then at the same time, there's trepidation that the universities may grow too much, or expand too much.
Yeah.
You see?
Well,
yes. And so how do you work that?
Well, the thing
line?
about it
Yes.
is that a number of people are afraid of university campuses. And when I say afraid, because it's educational, it seems like it's hands off. It's a community within itself. So my goal was to reach outside of those gates of that Dillard University campus and let the community know that we are all partners in this rebuilding. And so, and for you to feel comfortable to come in to look and utilize our resources that we have. And so therefore you have to develop a partnership with the community and have the community to feel very comfortable, because not everyone attended a Harvard or a Dillard or Xavier. You know, they've gone to schools all over the country, but you have to show, the university being a beacon, and any community have to show their willingness to reach out to the community and to utilize your resources.
Well, you have one skill that I really admire, and a super skill that I really admire, and that's your ability, and you just not mentioned the word just now, your ability to form partnerships. And through that skill that you have, that you form partnerships with LSU and other entities. And will you please tell our viewing audience the nature of some of these partnerships that you've outreached to and developed? Yes.
Well, Gary, I tell you this, the first partnership I formed was with the hotel associations in the CBD. And that stemmed from the fact that when we came back from Katrina, Dillard stayed at the Hilton Riverside Hotel. And every day I walked around the hotel and saw all the employees around there with a smile on their face and whatever. And yet some of those people had to leave and go back out to a devastated community. And I knew that, I said, listen, the manager's probably never been out to Gentilly before. So I took a Dillard University bus, invited all the top managers from the Hilton. I said, listen, I want to take you out to where we live and where your employees live. And they were shocked, okay, because they'd never been to that area of the city. And I said, what we need is for the CBD to invest into our community. Because in order for you to have satisfied, motivated employees in order to do a great job, we need your resources in this community as well. And so the Hilton became a partner, the Sheraton became a partner, the Marriott became a partner. And so now I've extended to the Roosevelt Hotel. And so all these people have partnered with us, but we have to show folk where we live, and not through, not to say that, but not through politicians. You know, because you have to do it through the people in the community that actually live in the community, you know, have invested into the community. And so these partnerships have developed. And so by developing that, I went on to the banks, I went to the mortgage companies, I went to everybody and developed these type of partnerships.
And it works.
It works.
Yes.
It works.
And what is the motivating factor with on the other side of the equation with these partners that say, hey, I want to be involved? What tends to be the key element or central element that goes through to say, hey, this would be a great partnership for me or entity for me to be involved in?
Realizing that New Orleans is a tourism town. All right. We cannot afford for bad news and bad press to continue to get out saying that New Orleans is the lowest on the totem pole as far as literacy. And we can't say that New Orleans is the lowest place, I mean, as far as the highest, as far as crime and all these different. You have to invest into your resources, okay? Because you cannot concentrate a community to one area. That community is going to eventually spread out. So instead of saying that we're the worst, show how you can invest into these communities in order to work with the residents, okay, in order to move forward. So that's why we have all these training programs at Dillard. You know, we are partnering with the elementary schools and with the high schools and bring the kids on campus to let them see their future, okay? And so there'll be less I guess they would think a little bit less about doing something to mess up their future, okay, by doing other crimes, not continuing to go to school to get an education, okay? So that's what we're all about in that area.
Now, I know that you also have formed partnerships with LSU and yes, and Hanover, in particular for LSU, you really looked at health and nutrition. Yes,
exactly, because that was another big problem in our community, because the Gentile area is known as a food desert. And through LSU Minority Health Disparities, I've been very blessed to receive several grants from LSU Minority Health Disparities through a program through the University of Alabama to have health fairs dealing with men's health. And nothing is better than men's health, okay, and especially African American men's health. So and then now we're dealing with obesity. We had a program down in Lower Ninth Ward, and I've been working in Lower Ninth Ward, with All Souls Together Church and some other entities down there, and working now with Central City in the area with the 3 housing developments, which is the Fisher, which is in Algiers, of course, but Gus and Morero Commons, formerly called B.W. Cooper.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I know also within the same scheme, the SBA is important to what you do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, SBA is very important to it because some time ago, we actually, through the Dillard University College of Business, I set up a meeting for the instructors of the College of Business to make a visit to SBA, our regional office in downtown New Orleans, so that we can set up a partnership in strengthening local businesses. Now, this came about, Gary, because a number of contractors here in the city, and especially in the New Orleans area, around the 7th Ward and other areas, didn't have the license. They want to go into business, they want to build houses. You had big brick masonry companies, but they had not formed a business. So by having a partnership, we can help these people in order to get their license to become certified through the city of New Orleans, as a DBE. Also WBE meetings. So Dillard, we have hosts through our community outreach meetings in order to get women-owned businesses certified, through SBA, and to work with other businesses. So and then we offered a free computer class for all folk, okay, just any senior citizens and young people to get them more literate on using computers.
Well, you have a history of success in terms of funding and getting things done, and I think that's something that should be commended. But also within this scheme, what becomes important to you is this whole thing about sustainability.
Yeah, Gary, it's so important. It's so important for young people now. I guess more people are seeing resources somewhat damaged. Okay, they're going away, and that they had depended upon. Education is the key to it, okay? Young people must stay in school. Young people, with all the talents in which they have to move on to other type of resources, and opportunities that's going to give them a quality life. So self-sufficiency is very important. In different communities, years and years ago, when I was a little boy, and my parents were, people didn't depend on government to answer all of their questions, everything they needed. Okay,
it wasn't there.
It wasn't there,
right?
And so they were able to start their own business. Okay,
yes.
And they were seamstress, they were brick masons. I mean, if they didn't go to college, they had Booker T. Washington's and all these other trade schools, around that you picked up a good trade and you provided a very good living for your family. So you didn't look for someone to give you anything. You took the talents in which you had and you made something good from it. And so these are the type of programs that I really want to bring out, and these are the type of programs that we're having right now, and we'll develop this coming year for residents that live in certain areas in the city of New Orleans, okay, through our area, through our resource center.
Right, and I like the fact that even though we say community, you community relations.
Yeah.
But when you say community, you absolutely mean the entire city, do you not?
Oh, yeah.
You're not just restricted to Gentilly.
Oh,
that's
no. Yeah. I'm all in Algiers, man, and down the Lower Ninth Ward, just all over. We just did I tell you one thing we're doing over at the Fisher Senior Housing Development through a summer partnership we had with Harvard University, actually built a urban planter boxes so that the residents in the area can grow their own vegetables. So right now, I am building several urban boxes, that you can place in your backyard in order to, to grow your own vegetables. So we have all these beautiful boxes, and then the Dillard University students came out in droves with me about 3 weeks ago. We planted tomato plants, cabbage, herbs,
yes.
just everything.
Oh, yes.
And the kids were, and I had a young man that I'm helping to get his DBE certification as a landscaper. He did a class for them to show them exactly about understanding planting and about community gardening. So we are doing community gardens as well.
So
okay?
That's absolutely. Again, that comes into the concept where you talked about sustainability.
Yes.
It comes back into that same concept. Now, are there, when you look at the various programs that you're involved in and that you do, you have to be highly selective.
Yes.
So what becomes the criteria for you to select the program to say, all right, this is what I'm going to do, and this is where we're going to go? What is there a checking?
It is, Gary. It have to have an outcome, a positive outcome. Okay. And I don't like doing a program just to do a program to say it's done. If I cannot see the end result of what the end result would be, and that it can move on to something better, it can move on for me to bring in other funders to continue what I'm doing for sustainability, then these are programs I prefer not to work with, okay? I'm about helping people. And it's a good feeling when you help someone, if you change their lifestyle, if you show them another way of creating their own business and moving forward with their own business, and that they just had an idea and you take the idea and develop it into something. But and that's why I have my program started off with Blue Cross Blue Shield and building a healthy garden. It's called a Dream Keeper's Garden, and we worked with Langston Hughes School. So if you haven't been to Langston Hughes School over by the racetrack, you should see the beautiful outdoor garden that these kids have actually built. And this came about from the fact that the kids were not eating healthier foods.
Okay, I like that. And see, you're on the right track. Now, this is what I wanted to know from you. Mm-hmm. Are your programs that you involve yourself in, I know many of them are generated from your ideas, but do they come from the community as well? If someone from the community would say, hey, let me go over to Dillard University and talk with Nick Harris and see what we can do, and see if he would be amenable to this project. Yes, sir.
Gary, and that is right on target. My ideas come directly from the community. I have an advisory team consisting of 9 neighborhood presidents.
How many?
9.
My goodness.
9 neighborhood presidents.
I can imagine.
And so my ideas come directly from them. They come up to me. First of all, I invested into the neighborhood presidents by sending them to different programs, to educational programs, so that we can know exactly how you formulate ideas. So these ideas are nothing they just picking up. They go into other meetings to learn how to be a neighborhood partner and how to build capacity, okay, and what type of grant opportunities are available, because education, once again, is very important. So you're bringing these ideas back, and from that, we write grants together. We wrote a grant and received $25,000 in order to put neighborhood signs up. And when I say we wrote it together, I went through the process of teaching them how to write a grant. Okay.
Oh, yes.
And so, and grant writing is very important also. Now, some people think that we want a grant to rebuild our house and whatever. We have housing fairs for that. And so I have all these other different ideas, programs that we have at the university for the community. But the ideas come from the people in the community.
Absolutely, and I think that's so wonderful. And again, I would like to remind my viewing audience that I'm Gary Clark, and I'm speaking with my good friend and colleague, Mr. Nick Harris. And yes, sir, you and I have been friends for so many years, and we've known each other for quite some time. But will you please tell my viewing audience the Nick Harris story? Yes, sir.
Oh, the Nick Harris story. Well, Gary, I'm a graduate of Southern University in Baton Rouge, and
yes.
one of the great schools there. And I left Southern as a marketing economic major and moved to Dover, Delaware, and lived in D.C. and worked for Quaker Oats Company as a marketing rep. And later on moved to D.C. and worked on Capitol Hill for a short period of time under one of our congressmen from New Orleans. And then I came down to New Orleans and been here ever since. And I worked for Dutch Moriel, came in and worked in his administration, and started off doing UDAGs, Urban Development Action Grants.
Oh,
and
yes.
that was my first introduction to the community. And working on UDAGs and working with a number of developers, from the World's Fair to Canal Place and the Sheraton Hotel and all these other big places in the city, learning the map and layout of the city and the urban part of urban development. And from that, Dutch appointed me as director of the Office of Minority Business. And then from that, it was all, everything is where I am right now, between Dutch being my frat brother and then my frat brother that hired me, Dr. Charles Teamer, and brought me over to Dillard University.
And what fraternity is that again?
As A5A, and Dr. Charles Teamer, and worked under my mentor, Dr. Charles Teamer, until he retired from Dillard University. And I've been at Dillard ever since in several capacities, very worthy capacities. But I have to say, at this point in my life, what I'm doing now is more of a compassion and a mission that I'm on, and that really makes me feel real good.
Well, what was your experience like at Southern University in Baton Rouge?
Oh man, when I was at Southern, it was great. When I was at Southern, also, Gary, that's when they had I was a young, I think it was a freshman or something, when they had the riot.
Oh yes,
okay,
with the two young men.
Oh man, yeah, Smith and I forgot his other
name,
from New Rose,
yes,
man, and
Paris, right.
but Southern was a very great experience because. We talked about economic development, okay? We had an instructor in there named Mr. Terry. And Mr. Terry used to sell,
Terry,
Mr. Terry?
Oh, yes, so Southern Heights.
Yes, Southern Heights, Mr. Terry. Mr. Terry had us all selling shoes, okay? So, but I love Southern. I love Southern. It's a great school. Now where I'm very weak at, Gary, and one that I have to grow stronger at is that I'm an alum of Southern. I do not, and one thing I need to do, Gary, is give back to Southern. That's very important, okay? And we have to support our other universities by giving back to our universities, okay, to make them stronger.
Absolutely,
yeah.
And to work with the first black mayor of the city of New Orleans.
Oh, man.
And it'd be a young man full of talent.
Yes,
sir.
I was so eager, man. I was an eager beaver, man. I was out there full of energy and Dutch. I learned so much from Dutch. And it's so good to see the alums of Dutch Moriel still around the city doing great things, And I was with Rosalind Pedro the other day, and we were at the housing fair we had, and we were kind of talking about it. But it's just so, Dutch really was a leader. He created leaders in that. He created a passion to care. And it all came out, So these are the type people that worked under Dutch Moriel. And so I learned a lot, but I was out there a lot too, doing a lot and working with all. It was an honor for me to work with developers, wealthy developers in the city, and then move to the other side of that coin and work with small minority businesses. So I saw both parts of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, do this for me. Who were some individuals that served as your greatest influence in your life, professional influence or even personal?
The professional influences in my life, and I'm going to name these people for you, and it's really, it was a lot of people in D.C., okay,
oh, yes.
When I first started off the whole part to it, okay? But in New Orleans, and starting my career off, that I learned a lot from, I have to say, was Charles Teamer, okay? And that I learned a lot about administration from. And but I learned the part of being of ethics and being an ethical person from Dr. Cook, Samuel Du Bois Cook.
Oh yes.
Okay, and we had a big meeting. We talked about that a lot. Dr. Cook, you sat across from his desk, and for some reason he had this chair, and when you sat in, you went all the way down to the floor, and so it made you look up at him. Okay, and so you surrounded by books, whatever, and he had that deep voice. But I learned a lot from him. But Gary, beyond all that right there, my foundation comes from my parents.
Oh yes.
Okay. And so I grew up in a household where we didn't have a choice. Everyone had to go to college. Everyone had to go to church on a Sunday morning. Everyone had to participate and work with people in the community. So, and my father is still that way. And so I grew up in a household with family, you know, from my grandmother and grandfather and everyone else doing the same thing.
Well, you know, part of my passion and yours as well is this thing called civic engagement.
Yes.
What was the stimulus for you that would make you move to be involved in civic engagement and to do your civic things? Because you just received an award for that. But what was the stimulus for that?
Well, Gary, I'm going to tell you something. What really got to me, and I have to go back, I think I grew as a person after Katrina. And to realize that I wasn't the only person that was devastated. But when I started helping people and seeing that, you know, you had people trying but just could not get to that next level, and that made me understand the importance of it. So with Nick, you have to give more of yourself. And grew up Baptist, been a United Methodist basically all my life. And now I attend a Baptist church, United Methodist church. I'm just all over the place, you know, just loving it because it's the same God. But I'm just working now more with people and realizing that if you have a talent within you, it is your responsibility. It is your responsibility to give a piece of yourself in order to help your fellow man. Okay?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
But the thing about it is that we all look for good feelings on different things. You know, I was part of Zulu for over 20-something years.
Yes.
You know,
you were the voice of Zulu.
I was the spokesperson for Zulu.
Yes.
You know, I did everything Zulu. And I got out the club, and still love all my members over there, but I wanted to focus that on my community activities. So that's what helped me. It helped me a lot. All the energy I was putting into Zulu, I now put that into working in the community and working with people.
And I know you also just received an award from the City Council.
Yes, I did.
For your community service.
Yes, and that was an honor to do that, because I have to give a lot of credit to Dillard University and to the administration and to Mark Barnes and other folk for allowing me to go out to just do my work and not to say, okay, Nick, we're going to pull you back, and whatever. But, you know, the ability to keep going forward and in order to spread the good word and to help other people. And now, and with the students, I can't say any more good about the students because, you know, they're my extra arm, you know. And so one of the students called me up the other day, Gino's called me up, and I'm going to say his name, Glennis Scott Jr., okay?
Oh, yes.
Called me up and said, Mr. Nick, I have some more projects for you. He said, so he's coming by my office today so I can see what other kind of community projects we have for the kids.
Now, in our remaining 30 seconds, your vision for the center.
Well, let me just say this right here, Gary, to formally introduce that center, is that about in 2008, Dillard received a grant from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to open up a community center. And the center will be open at 3301 Annette Street, and it's called, and not officially yet, the Dillard University Center for Community Outreach. Currently, right now, that's where we have all our neighborhood association meetings, and so we will have more activities in there and to form the community to help in rebuilding.
Oh, yes, and that's the corner of Annette and Humanity
Street.
Oh, yes. And again, I would like to thank my viewing audience for tuning in, and as always, it's been a pleasure.